Not yet. So first of all, let me just say, the way that government does more and better by our people is by listening. And so when the community comes together and says, we need an open street.
Open street!
Open street!
Our children need an open street. There's only one answer. And that's, okay, good, we're going to get that done.
Yeah!
We're here to talk about education, but I want to say that in my climate justice plan, I already pledged to double the amount of open and green space in this city.
Yeah.
And the way we're going to do it is exactly how this community did it, which is by partnering, saying, what do you need? Where do you need it? Where's the opportunity to do it? And that's why we're going to do it on 34th Avenue. But look, we are in a historic crisis, right? COVID has decimated us emotionally, spiritually, financially, and in every way. But at the end of the day, the truth about New York City is that we had a crisis before COVID.
Yeah. Yes.
Our school system was not good enough for our children before COVID.
That's right.
Our classrooms, too many of them were overcrowded before COVID.
That's right.
Our children who had learning disabilities were going through school without being diagnosed at all.
That's correct.
Do you know the number of people in Rikers Island who have undiagnosed dyslexia?
Right.
It's not only our largest psychiatric facility, it is our largest example of how we have failed our children in the school system, and that they found a way, the only way they could, and that's on us. And I just want to acknowledge and thank Danny Drum for his leadership, because he was also one of the first to call for the closing of Rikers.
Right. That's right, Danny.
Right, yes, this is important because we're going to get that closed. But this is the point. The opportunity in an historic crisis like this is to remake the city and to remake our schools and to remake our space and to learn what we learn in every crisis, which is that there's some communities hit hard and there's some communities that are decimated.
That's right.
And they were the ones that were struggling before COVID. There are children. We will not lose a generation of our kids. We will not.
No.
But this crisis took the previous crisis and made it a catastrophe.
Yes.
And the lessons we learned in COVID, lessons we knew before COVID, like that 1.8 million of our people did not have broadband or the technology to get online. Before COVID, we knew this. We've been calling the digital divide. As a civil rights lawyer, I've been working on digital divide issues for a decade. Outside of government and in, got every single apartment in Queensbridge houses free broadband because it's something the government can do if we have the imagination and the tenacity and the courage to say, we have the money. We just have to use it for the right things.
Right.
But if there's one thing we learned, if anybody didn't know, during COVID, it's that far too many people couldn't get online so their kids could actually learn online.
That's right.
And we also knew what the research taught us before COVID too, that online learning is not racial equity, because kids of color fall further behind in online learning. That was before COVID. We have not figured out how to make it work for our kids, any of them. But our kids who have already been disinvested in do worse. So all I can say is, Eric Adams, what did we not understand before COVID about our digital divide? We've been talking about it for decades. What did we not understand about the fact that we were not giving sufficient services or diagnosing our kids with learning disabilities, and online learning doesn't work for them.
That's right.
What have we not learned about class sizes? So going to this crisis and saying 400 kids online, one teacher, and math? We were struggling with my 17-year-old who was in high-level math before COVID, struggling trying to keep up with math online. I'm sorry, it doesn't work. And what parent in this city, no matter how many resources you have, did online learning work for you?
No.
Did it work for your kids? Was it a good thing? Is it a model? No. But I tell you what is project-based learning.
Yes.
I tell you what is arts,
Yes.
dance,
Yes.
music, because it's not enrichment. It's core to education. What do we not understand about music enhancing math learning? We knew this before COVID. And what do we not understand about trauma? What do we not understand about trauma? We understood it before COVID. But at a time when domestic violence has skyrocketed during COVID, at a time when gun violence has skyrocketed during COVID, at a time when so many families are wondering if they're gonna get evicted because they lost jobs during COVID, including our friends and neighbors who are excluded workers who didn't get a dime out of any relief package. Thankfully, the state is helping to change that in the federal government, but it comes late, y'all. The rent is past due. But that's a trauma. Poverty is a trauma.
That's right.
It is. And so the thing that we're going to do is say, we've got the dollars, we just need the determination. This is not about money, it's about priorities. And there is no greater priority than our kids.
That's
None.
number one, the children.
It's the number one priority in this city is this generation right here,
You're right, Maya,
now.
you're right.
We will not lose another child. And I know what it feels like to go to a segregated, overcrowded, underfunded public elementary school. And I want to tell you something. It is not just about poverty. Because I came from a middle-class family. Both my parents collectively had over 8 years of graduate education between them. I was not first generation college, I was second. My father, black man, PhD, organic chemistry from Cornell University, 1957, y'all. I know a little something about education, but I also know a little something about even when your parents have the resources to read Bank Street books to you before kindergarten. Even when you were in an elementary, pre-elementary program that was experimental and off the charts phenomenal. I know what it means to go then into a segregated, overcrowded school and be at the top of my class. The darling of the teachers. The smart kid who was 2 years behind grade level by second grade at the top of my class. We do not blame our parents for what the system has failed our children.
That's right, Maya.
So that's why we end discrimination in admissions practices. We stop the lie that says that a test tells us who's gifted and talented, because every last one of our kids has gifts and talents, and we should stop testing for resources, because that's all we're doing.
That's right. That's correct.
And we should stop making poor families scrape together what they can to pay for years of tutoring, to try to game a system that should never have to been gamed in the first place.
Right.
And we are going to change this because we have the courage to stand up to the bureaucracy.
You have the courage.
We all have the courage, because the one thing I want to end on is it does take every last one of us. I am running for mayor because the courage to face developers, the courage to face the bureaucracy, the courage to face the NYPD and say, y'all don't need all that money. But we do. But we want you to do the job. We just want you to do it right, smart, constitutionally.
Yeah.
Right. That's
And
correct.
we want to support you in doing that. But we don't need you as mental health responders. We need you going after the illegal guns that are coming into our city and our communities.
That's correct.
And the mental health response we need needs to be in our schools, needs to be in our communities, needs to recognize we have whole families. But I say this to you because I got the courage. But we need the community. Because nobody does this alone. No leader should lead ahead of the people, but for the people, with the people, with people directing what's needed.
You're right,
And
Maya.
this
You're
is a
right.
partnership that's going to remake this city and once and for all say, we're not just going to recover from a crisis. We're going to fix what's broken, and we will not lose the next generation.
That's right. Maya. 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 Maya.
Yes.
Vote Maya.
Yes.
Maya, can you just elaborate?